Okay, this is planning board for May 10th, 2023. Todd, do you want to start us off with attendance?
Sure thing, sure thing. I'll begin roll call attendance vote. I'll begin with Chair, Michael Gore.
Vice Chair, present.
Vice Chair, yes, apologies. Present. Mr. Romer.
Here.
Let's see, Mr. Groner.
Present.
Good to see you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Barr.
Here.
And I believe I have to ask if Mr. Nayland is here, though I don't believe he's present yet. We'll keep an eye out for him to pop in later. But with that, we have 4 out of 5 attendance, sir.
Okay, so first item of business, always after town meeting, is board reorganization. And with our beloved Pete Driscoll no longer with us, we need to elect a new chair and vice chair. So
I imagine he's with us, just not in the capacity we're used to.
Really don't know about beloved, but it's been a pleasure. So
Thank you, Pete. So as vice chair the past year, I am willing to be the chair this year, if that's amenable to the rest of the board.
Fine here.
We can entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion that Michael Gore be elected as chair of the planning board. Do I hear a second?
second,
Very good. With a second received, I'll begin a roll call vote. I'll begin with President Vice Chair Michael Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Groner,
Aye.
and Mr. Barr.
aye.
With 4 out of 5 in the affirmative, motion passes. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And with that, we also need to elect a vice chair. So if someone would be willing to perform those duties, which is basically filling in for me when I'm not available. If anyone is interested, Jim or Bob.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Entertain a
Bob,
motion.
I'll second.
Well,
Very good.
so did someone make a motion? I'll make a motion to nominate Jim Barr as vice chair of the planning board.
Second.
Very good, very good. I'll begin a vote for that. I'll begin with Vice Chair, Chair, Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Groner,
Aye.
and Mr. Barr.
Aye.
Very good. Congratulations, good sir. How are you?
Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you.
All right.
And we'd also like to welcome our newest elected member of the board, Austin. Is Groner? I'm going to mispronounce this every time, I think.
You can pronounce it Groner, although I'm told that's not the original pronunciation.
It's the original pronunciation is Glennon.
Oh,
It's Glennon. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
right, correct. Yeah.
same thing with
I know.
Roman.
Yeah.
Well,
my
welcome.
dad's from there.
Well, thank you very much. It's really nice to be here.
Congratulations on your election.
Mhm.
So Todd, we have one final position of associate member who I believe we have someone in mind who's going to select board tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct. If you guys recall, at the same meeting where we first met Mr. Groner, we have Mr. Lau, which I will be, after the events of tonight, I'll be appearing at the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night to provide updates and kind of debrief with the Board of Selectmen for whatever occurs here tonight.
Have you been in contact with him? Is he going to be at the meeting also?
I am anticipating him to be there. We last spoke a couple of weeks ago. That was before my vacation, so I haven't been able to touch base with him this week, but I anticipate him to be there tomorrow night.
Excellent. Okay.
We need a
With that-
resolution to promote that.
So with that, we will move on to town planner report.
Oh, Mr. Chair, one moment.
Yes.
Do we have, is the board prepared to make a recommendation, yes or no, for Mr. Lau, based on his previous appearance?
I'm certainly comfortable with doing that. If the rest of the board is amenable.
I just joined, so what, the other guy dropped out or?
No, so Austin Grenner was elected at
Yeah,
Monday's town meeting.
yeah. Oh, I
Right,
thought we
so-
were talking about associate.
Well,
Yep.
we are,
Oh,
right? So
okay.
that there were two people we were talking to a few weeks back.
Mhm.
Austin was elected on Monday, and so we will appoint, I'm sorry, what's the first name?
Mr. Lau, it was Matthew, if I recall. I believe it's Mr. Lau, the applicant that we previously had. Hang on.
Oh, but there was a third person too that we talked to, right?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was another guy who joined as well, but whatever. I'm fine with
Yeah,
the first guy.
So there were a couple of people for the master plan, Eric.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
for master plan.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Sorry, I'm just
got
I'm just double checking, looking at previous agendas to see if I'm
No, it's fine. I was probably wrong.
not to worry, not to worry.
Do you have a bio for Mr. Lau?
I do have a copy of his expression of interest, the volunteer form. I do have that.
Okay. Anything beyond that?
Nothing beyond that, sir, I'm afraid.
Another opportunity to hit LinkedIn.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All righty. So I'm just digging through previous agenda.
Michael Lau. Oh, yeah, he was a
Michael.
project manager with
That's correct. That's correct.
with
He,
engineering company. It was very good.
Yeah,
background.
exactly. He's used to working on large scale infrastructure projects, which is directly translatable and
Yeah.
transferable.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled for skills. This is great. I love it.
Okay, if someone would like to make a motion to recommend the appointment of Michael Lau as associate member.
I would like to make that motion to appoint Michael Lau. Recommend the appointment of Michael Lau as an associate member to the planning board to the selectmen.
Second,
Very good. I'll begin a vote to that effect. I'll begin with Chair Gore.
Aye.
Let's see, Mr. Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Glenn.
Aye.
Now that Eric is here, good Sir Eric,
all right.
and Mr. Barr.
All right.
Very good.
I'm my customary 5 minutes late.
6 of one, half dozen the other. It's quite right.
Just tell me the meeting starts at 6:55 for now.
You laugh. You think I won't? Okay. Very good. Motion carries. I'll have that communicated to the BOS tomorrow night.
So now we can go ahead with the town planner report.
Very good. Very good. Let me just get out of that. Okay, so just getting everyone back up to speed. I'm coming back, of course, from 4 days of vacation from last week. So, of course, I've been thrown off the boat again to get caught up with emails. I came in yesterday morning to 116 emails in my inbox. Nothing big. I was able to, after trimming that down, get it down to 76. I'm proud to say that all the emails that I've received, I've since finished off with. My inbox is gloriously clean for the moment. It won't remain that way, but at least for now, I can wallow in that kind of situation. With that, I have sent correspondence over to Attorney Falk relating to some of the items that we likely will be discussing tonight. However, there hasn't been any formal determination there. I'll be continuing conversations with Attorney Falk to get his final opinions on the matters that we're going to be discussing later. With that, we have received, as you guys well know, we have received the second half of the peer review, which is relating to road acceptance items. Those are items that we'll be discussing later on tonight, as you can see on the agenda reflected at the last item. But aside from that, all is well that continues well. We do have, as I've explained before, we are anticipating a special permit application for United Cultivation. After the standard notice process, they're likely going to be appearing on not next meeting, but the meeting thereafter on the 7th of June. I'm still making sure that all those wheels are moving as they need to, making sure that the editor of the paper is in communication with the applicant, et cetera, all the boring behind the scenes stuff. But they will likely be appearing for that hearing on the 7th. And aside from that, I'm still waiting to hear also on some other rumblings I've heard for future special permits, but as they haven't coalesced into an application, it's a little premature to talk about them yet. But aside from that, all's well as goes well, I guess.
Okay. So just to clarify, that is the special permit for marijuana dispensary in the Country
Correct.
Covered Plaza.
Correct, correct. Yeah, that's just right off the off ramp there. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
So we can move right into our first item of business, the continued scenic road shade tree hearing for lots 7 and 8 Meadow Road.
Okay, to the chair, if I may.
Yes.
I am in communication with the applicant and their engineering team, as well as Randy Heglin, our DPW director, of course. And we are due to meet with that team tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock and to go over some potential engineering solutions and ameliorations to the issues there. So I would recommend that this item be continued to the next meeting after they've presented whatever engineering solutions they have in mind.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Bob, are you going to that meeting?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, we'll leave it at that then. So if someone would like to make a motion, Todd, I think our next meeting is
24th, good sir.
May 24th. So I'm gonna need someone to be my my motion person this season. Crickets.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the shade tree hearing for lots 7 and 8 on Meadow Road be continued to our next meeting on May 24th.
Second,
Very good. I will begin the roll call vote. I will begin with Chair Gore.
Aye.
Mr. Bob Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Gunner,
Aye.
Mr. Nayland,
aye,
and Mr. Barr.
Aye.
Very good. With that, motion carries. This item will be moved to the 24th. I'll place it at probably the first item on the agenda after meeting.
I was shooting for the second person, that's why I was being quiet.
Okay, not to worry, not to worry. All right.
Okay, next item of business is the continued definitive subdivision plan, Fosford, for South Bolton Road. Give us an
Yes,
update on that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I do have updates as I sent over their draft form of surety to town council as required. Town council has been a little delayed in their response, but they have assembled some thoughts and they're going to be they sent an initial evaluation over to me today. And then after I speak with him tomorrow afternoon, I expect we'll have some resolution on that issue there. From that, of course, there's a different process that goes after. We still have to go through the rest of the hearing process. And then once, if town council finds that the draft form of surety is acceptable, of course, that will be subject to the terms and conditions of whatever proposed or approved conditions are represented within the certificate of approval. So those kind of go a little bit hand in hand in that way. So with that, the rest of the hearing will proceed as standard. And just to make sure that everyone is caught up to speed, we'll have them represent all of the items in one larger presentation. And then ideally, if the board so designs, they'll be able to act upon that within a future meeting.
So Todd, just to be clear, so what you sent over, the covenant you sent to me earlier today, that
Yes.
was that our template and that we are sending that to Mr. Matha?
Well, that was what was sent to me from the applicant.
Okay.
It looks a little boilerplate, but that's standard. That there is what I had Council Falk review, and he's sending me his opinions on that probably first thing in the morning.
Okay,
and
so we
then
haven't
once-
got that part of it yet.
I've had some communications with Council Falk, but I'm looking to have some additional phone calls with him to go over some of the minutia contained within it. And provided that passes muster with him and he has no express concerns, we can continue with the hearing as standard.
Okay, and then again, sort of what's left from planning board perspective, I imagine they're gonna want to start construction at some point? Is our vote the last thing, or are they still waiting on Concom for?
I do believe they're still going through conservation because there's some sensitive environmental resource areas present. If you remember the discussion that was sent over several weeks ago relating to the marbled salamander, that is a threatened or endangered species there, and they still have some other hurdles to go through on the conservation end of things. Forgive me if I'm not privy to all of them, but I do know they have some other hanging issues with conservation relating to the open space areas.
But the surety was kind of the last thing we were waiting for. So
Yeah.
next step is to kind of review
Yeah.
their full
That-
plan.
Exactly. Go over any potential conditions or waiver requests that they may have. Really, it's just the last hanging items that need to be addressed. And again, for those that are not familiar, the relevant citation is from the subdivision regulations of the town of Bolton, section 4340.2, to go over that specific type of surety that they've requested.
I don't recall what waivers did they ask for?
It's contained within their application. Forgive me if I
Okay.
don't have that right in
No,
front of me.
that's
I'm on my
I can
laptop here.
look it up later. I mean, that's the kind of the
Yes,
thing
it's all there present on the application packet that was placed to the website there.
okay. Okay, I'm good with that. So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's quite all right. I was just saying that's found within the packet placed upon the website under current projects.
Okay. So it sounds like this is also continued until our May 24th meeting.
That's correct. That should give ample time to get some of the hanging and relevant items kind of put together into one package. And then if I have time, I'll be able to speak with the applicant and let them know exactly what's expected of them 2 weeks hence.
Okay. Entertain a motion for that.
Bueller? I say we make Austin do it.
That's
You
not,
may
Throw
not
him off
have
the boat,
the word
throw him
on
off the
that.
boat. It'll be fun.
No. Someone please. make a
I
motion.
might need a few more of
Yeah.
those to get the hang of it.
It's quite all right, but I'm just joshing you. I promise.
okay, let me make a motion
Thank you.
Okay.
that the hearing for the definitive subdivision plan for minor no station residential development for Daniel Mota, special permit for property identified in Bolton Assessors Map 2C as parcel 23, be continued to our meeting on the 24th of May.
Second.
Very good. With a second, I'll begin roll call. I'll begin with Chairman Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Grona,
Aye.
Mr. Nayland,
All right.
Mr. Barr.
Aye.
Very good. With that, the motion carries. This item will be pushed to item 2 on the date of the 24th.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Moving on, Central Mills Estate as built review discussion and light installation determination. So it looks like we have Andy with us.
You too.
I would like to do the first or the second part first and talk about the light installation because we need to have some closure on this. So Todd, I'm going to summarize where we're at with the light
Sure.
and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. So at this point, the DRB, some number of years ago, Design Review Board, selected a light for the area that was presumably okay with the town. Our new DPW director does not feel that it's really a street light meant to go in the right of way. It's more of a decorative light. And so our options at this point are to require them to get a different light that meets what our DPW, the standards of our DPW, to put into the town right of way, to put the light that was purchased into the private property of the development, and it becomes owned and managed by the HOA of CME. Or third is that we waive the requirement to have a street light at that spot. Does that about sum it up?
That's nuts and bolts pretty close. Mr. Hegland, our DPW director, didn't deem it to be a decorative light. He deemed it to be more akin to like a parking lot light. And also, it's important to note that other subdivisions of similar size within the town limits of Bolton also do not have analogous lights present. They're simply not illuminated at that point. And there's a point to be made that as there hasn't been any safety issues yet in the 6-ish, 7-ish years that they've been without said light, there's a pretty potent reason to simply waive the requirement of its installation period.
Yeah, I know we've waived it at least at I'm always going to confuse the name, the 117 subdivision Goose Pond Path. That's
Yes, sir.
Tadmore, correct?
Tadmore, that's correct, sir.
I believe we waived it for that installation. So I'm open to hearing other members of the board, their opinion. I'm of the mind that we waived the requirement for the light at this point. It's kind of dragged on. And it's certainly not fair to the applicant that we specified, our own design review board specified one light, and now they don't want that. So I'm willing to waive that requirement for the subdivision if anyone else on the board has thoughts or feelings on it.
Well, I remember, I thought that a lot of the residents in the area did not want the light to be.
That is almost always the case in every subdivision that we do, is that the residents typically don't want lights in this. So I think our rules and regs say one light at the entrance and one light towards at some point within the subdivision, and we end up waiving them because neighbors and abutters typically don't want them. So
Yeah.
Well,
But on the other hand, we also have the chief, was it the chief of police or the
DPW.
DPW wanted the light there just for safety reasons.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. It's to the chair, if I may.
Yes.
I also extended invitations for public safety department heads, including Mr. Hegland, to opine on the issue before 2 weeks ago in anticipation for this meeting tonight. The only department head that did reply to me was Mr. Hegland.
Yeah.
Both the fire chief and police chief did not respond.
Go ahead, Bob. You wanted to say something?
no, you just said it. No, I was curious about if it's a public safety issue, what does public safety have to say about it?
And I did, on that thought as well, I did in that email to both of them, I let them know that if we don't hear from them within that 14-day period, that'll just be taken as no comment. So,
Yeah, that's
So-
it.
Yep. And Todd, to your point, it's been like this for multiple 7+ years. I've lost track at this point, but
thereabouts,
Yeah.
Longer than I've been here, sir.
so how do we just make a motion to waive the requirement for a street light, or do we need to?
You're making a determination or a finding in fact, or you can just entertain a motion to waive this particular provision within the approved subdivision plans, and that's all that's really needed.
Okay, someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion, or go ahead, Bob.
Eric,
I don't
Your
know, okay. I make a motion to waive the streetlight towards the front of the subdivision from the special permit for Century Mill Estates
On the approved subdivision plans.
on the approved subdivision plans of Century Mill.
I'll second.
Very good. Austin with his inaugural second. There's a pun there. somewhere. So I will entertain a roll call vote for the motion. I will begin with Chairman Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Romer,
aye,
Mr. Guarano,
Aye.
Mr. Nayland,
All right,
and Mr. Barr.
Aye.
With that, the motion carries. The installation of this light is to be waived.
Okay, now let's get on to the as-built review discussion. Todd, if you have the comments, maybe you could bring those up.
I can give me one quick moment and I can share my screen. Give me one.
So there's there's 13 recommendations in the final report. And we don't need to go through all of them at this point, but
Men-
just to have them up for reference.
Sure, give me one quick second. I have to, I was in the middle of a different project. So give me 1 second here.
Andy, if you can come off mute, have you had a chance to read through these comments?
Yes, I have.
Any questions, concerns with them?
I would say the only thing I would ask is that we cleaned the ponds previously, a couple of years ago, after the roads were paved. So that was done recently, fairly recently, anyway.
So that is, once he brings up the,
I mean, I'm happy that I'm cleaning out the areas where the ponds, like the water exits,
Looks
outlet.
like number 7, Mike.
There we
yeah,
go, right there. On sheet number 7, there we go.
Certainly that
Can everyone read that all right?
we can check those areas, but
yeah, if you want to scroll down.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
cleaning
general
the bottoms of the
seven.
ponds is sort of a significant amount of work, and we had already done that.
Okay, so I mean, we'll need to see how much is in there. So I think for the, just kind of level set here. So, the report is pretty good for the most part. There's no major problems that need to be addressed in it. It's, standard things that we do as we close out a subdivision and accept roads. Minor things need to be done. The next step at this point is that DPW takes this list and does their own kind of walkthrough of the property. I know they had made a couple comments a few months back on just a drive-through.
Mhm.
So that list that DPW generates to me should be the final list of steps required.
To the chair, if I may.
Yes.
Don't forget about comment 8 regarding wetland areas being approved by Concom and a certificate of compliance being issued and recorded at registry. That's super important. Don't forget about
Well,
that.
and I assume the Concom piece is separate and
It is. They're separate but parallel, but it can't be
Yeah.
forgotten.
yep, no, for sure. But for the things that we're in charge of
Sure.
or overseeing at the moment. And so for Andy, the plan is to have comments from DPW kind of as soon as possible. I don't know, Todd, were you able to get in touch with Randy?
Yes, I did. When just after I was off the phone with you, I gave him a ring immediately thereafter. And Randy is in receipt of this exact memo here, this
Mhm.
report, and he's in the middle of going through on his end, making sure that just getting kind of an order of operations for which items to check on first. So he's aware.
Okay, and was he able to give us any sort of date or timeline?
Not at this time. He said it's impossible to know until he actually begins doing the review process. Then he'll be able to give a better idea. So it shouldn't be more than they should have it ready by next meeting. I think that's a very comfortable thing to
Okay.
say.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for, is what the timeline of things is.
Yes, sir.
So Andy, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I just, there's nothing really, nothing really significant on the niche report that I, didn't know of or didn't expect, except for cleaning the ponds, the bottom of the ponds.
And now, again, if there's something on here listed, like you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So let's.
Even if it was already done, though.
But I don't know when, Andy, this is the process for street acceptance.
Yes.
Right.
And it's also to the chair, if I may.
Yes.
It's important to communicate that the matters, for example, of the catch basin hoods and the relevant maintenance that fills with sediment, that occurs just for the sake of them in operation, sediment will accrue and accumulate by process. I do know that DPW is going to be in agreement with the general findings here, the general comments. It's also important to keep in mind that updated plans after this is done is submitted as it situates right at the bottom here. Niche Engineering notes that the subdivision plan is in general conformance with the approved plans. That's great. And recommends that the applicant provides an updated plan for review prior to street acceptance. So we're going to need an updated plan that demonstrates that all of the recommendations in terms of notation, etc., are completed and satisfactory before they'll be able to be brought up for acceptance by the town. So that's just super important. It's very small in terms of text, but it's incredibly critical in terms of process. And this entire process is, it needs to be done by the letter. It does.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're hopefully, we've said this many years, but hopefully this is the year we're going to make the final push on this and get these roads accepted. So I would recommend doing everything the letter of what is recommended. And we'll see what DPW says when they do their inspection.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments from the board about the review?
No.
No,
Anyone? Go ahead, Todd.
Oh, sorry about that. I think it's also important to note that within the summary, the very first line, the peer reviewer notes that the subdivision plan is in general conformance with the approved plans. That's not nothing. That's actually a very significantly positive thing to note. That largely what has been built and what exists there is largely in conformity with what was sought out, 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah.
All that remains is the marching orders, which is effectively tasks 1 through 13. So once all of those 13 items are done, this should, by the applicant, this should be much smoother from there, I think.
Yeah, it's all good news, as far as I'm
Indeed.
concerned.
Agreed.
Any questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Please identify yourself.
Yeah, this is Kai Chuang. I'm a resident in Century Mill. I've been living in Century Mill in Bolton for about 10 years. So I've lived through the pain along with Mr. Balowitz, who I see is also online. And I actually have written the town planner a few days ago and I appreciate the response. And I guess I have a more general question, and it's an asking for how, what could be done. So from my point of view, and I think I speak for at least some residents, it's been extraordinarily frustrating. And I feel like as residents, we are somewhat caught between the town and the developer. I'm in no way trying to, make excuses for the developer. I think there are lots of things that are going on, should have been done, was not done. But where we are now is it's 10 years into this development. I've lived here for 10 years. I think I looked up our 2022 tax base for the community, almost $900,000 yearly in property taxes. So there are a lot of people who are just frustrated. And so my ask of the town now is, I'd like to ask the town to give the developer / the HOA, which essentially represent the residents, the list of items, the punch list, if you will, that you would agree to and the date by which we would all agree to. Because then I think the residents can work on our side to make sure those things are done. So I see here, it's a list of 13 things. Although to be honest, I think I heard Andy say, well, yeah, but the basin's already been cleaned. And I don't know, maybe it has. So I don't actually know. So therefore, does it need to be done or not to be done? And so I'm really asking the town to give an official, if it's, can be done by the town council, that would be great. But I think the neighborhood needs to know what is the list of things and the date by which need to be done. And if those things are done by the date they need to be done, then the town will accept the roads. And I don't know if it's just these 13. It sounds like after this list is done, there's DPW. I also know that in the past, there's some other, taxes and other fees that developer owes the town. And so I feel like I've lived for 10 years. I've been on many of these calls. And I don't know, what is the, where is the finish line? So does that make sense? I think I'm asking for the town to give the neighborhood residents a comprehensive list, and maybe there's some negotiation that we would have to take on to.
Can I just
figure out
interrupt
what's
you
in-
right here? Right? So
Yeah.
here you go. Here's the first list.
No, not the first list, the
13
entire,
items. Right?
what happens
and
after this?
As I mentioned, the next step, DPW will take this list, do their own inspection.
And then what?
They will have their own list of things that they feel needs to be done before the town
Okay,
will accept the
then
road.
what happens after that? Does Andy owe the town any money that he has to pay?
So I don't think we should talk about the tax issues at this meeting because it's not.
Well,
like,
that's
we're not in
okay.
charge
If
of
you're
that.
saying, that the money he owes the town is actually not a requirement for road acceptance, I think the residents will be thrilled, because that has not been the case up to this point.
I mean, I can't say that. That's
I think it's fair for somebody representing the town of Bolton to tell the residents what are all the things that need to happen by when, in order for the town to accept the roads. Isn't that a very fair question to ask after 10 years?
yep. The tax question is important, and
So we need to know, because we've wasted, I'll be honest, and John, feel free to jump in. We've wasted years trying to work on things on lists like this, while there may be other things that will never get addressed or need some other way to get addressed. And so I'm really asking the town, tell us what are all the things that need to be done and by when, because then we can also work as a community to get the developer to do things, or maybe do other things, finish whatever it is. I just feel like, I don't know, John, maybe you know what the full list of things are, but it seems like whatever that list, there's probably some negotiations involved. And even on this list, I'm not hearing Andy saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all 13 of them. And I just want to avoid for all of us to keep perpetuating this insanity that's been going on for 10 years.
Yeah, Chairman Gore, if you don't mind, I could speak. John Ballows here. I agree with what you're saying. So let me just start with, this is a great starting list. It's nothing surprising because it was on previous lists I've seen in previous years. Most of it's the same. I don't see that much that's different. What I am disappointed at is it took 10 plus weeks to get this done when it should have been 4. And I'm even more disappointed that DPW hasn't even started when we're 2.5 months past when we've been trying to do this, and they haven't even started doing the review to give a list. So I would have liked to see it done now. I'm glad I heard that they're going to push to get the DPW to do this by next meeting, and that's great. If that's the final list, we can go by that guy. I'm going to expect whatever at the next meeting we have the final list, and then we can work from that. And we can work with the developer, we can work with the town, we can work with Concom, however it is, but it's going to come down to Andy having to pay for whatever the requirements are. And that's what we're going to have to come up with and figure out. Putting all that aside, and the 2 major items that you brought up 1 major item, 2 major items that I think it might've been meetings you haven't been at, is back taxes for the phase that's not completed, which as residents, we believe that should be not part of road acceptance. Chairman Gore said that's a selectman discussion, not a planning board discussion. So we can table that till we get to the selectman discussion. We can't get there until the planning board, I guess, gives their finding and says they are in favor of road acceptance. Then we have to have that fight with the selectman. And the second piece is affordable housing, which again, I think was, and not to rehash it, I feel like the planning board could have done a better job forcing that much earlier. Where we are, where it's very default on an affordable housing lot being submitted or paid for, way past when it should have been. And I think it could have been enforced by the planning board earlier, but I think that needs to be put as a non-requirement for road acceptance as well. And I think that has to be a selectman argument as well. So once we get the full list, we can kind of talk about that guy. I think it's going to come down to Andy being amenable to take care of all the issues that are on the list prior to the next town meeting. And I don't want to wait till next February and have this fight. I think it should be done over the summer. And so we're gonna have to work with Andy to try to see what he can and can't do financially. But the two major items that are the biggest ticket items is taxes and affordable housing. Everything else, I hope that he can do, and we can't know it until the DPW comes back in 2 weeks. And I don't know if anybody has any comments, but that's how I see it.
Yeah,
Of the things that are within our purview, and we can work with or talk with the other departments.
Todd, if I recall correctly, several meetings ago, when Town Council Falk was on, I had requested, and he had agreed that he would do it, put together a flow chart of the process of going through this on a generic basis, so that we would be able to identify the individual wickets through which we all had to pass in order to get to the final goal, which is acceptance of the road. And I still think it's valuable for CME, but it is equally valuable for engaging with other developers and understanding consistently within the board what that overall process is laid out in a frankly in a process diagram.
Sure. I'll give Attorney Falk a call and see if he can go ahead and I know he has one. Let's see if he can go ahead and forward that over to us.
But I'd really like to see that before the next meeting.
Very good.
So Todd, you do have a list of requirements for road acceptance, right? That is a town, we have that list already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that we can do. We don't need to wait on anyone to do that.
Sure.
So
And
that is the list that we're working off of.
Sure, and it is important to know, just for everyone's edification, the town is under no requirement and they're under no demand to accept the road. It has to go to town meeting and then get voted upon and accepted. So we could get through every single item here and it could be done to perfection. I mean, like chef's kiss perfection. But if it fails at town meeting, then it fails at town meeting. I just don't want to have everyone have their hopes get built up. I'm a realist by nature, there's a reason I'm a planner. So I just want that to be kept in everyone's back of mind, that we could go through this entire endeavor as long as it's taken, appearing on a decade. But if it gets to town meeting and fails to get the necessary votes, then it fails to get the necessary votes. So that's just something that I would be an awful planner if I didn't make sure that everyone knew and kept in mind as a possibility. Even if an outside possibility, it is a possibility.
Well, I would say, yes, but I think what I've heard Mr. Balowitz say is that, and I've been in some of these calls where we talked about back taxes as well as affordable housing. And I think a number of folks on this call, maybe not all, agree that it maybe it could be excluded. It may be, but it's not for this group to decide. So do I need, I mean, we're a small town. I mean, yes, we have there's a proper protocol for doing things, but is it appropriate for me to just go ask the selectmen? We have this issue. It's been outstanding for 10 years. We pay almost $1 million in property taxes to the town of Bolton. Well, I don't think we're making something unreasonable. There's been a group of people diligently trying, I think all of us, including Mr. Bendetson, want the roads to be accepted. We're trying to all work together to do what's needed. And we all feel that there are things that are outside road acceptance, which has to do with Andy's or developers' financial entanglements with the town. And I think, as you guys just said, you have a list of road acceptance criteria. I don't think that list of criteria includes any other financial.
I think it does. I think one of those is pay all back taxes. So that, right, like, I mean, we've accepted many roads in this town over the years. Like, this has been the most difficult one, right? No one's happy with the situation. Okay, let's not, this isn't Town of Bolton's fault for how this is going, right? This board right now, we are trying to work with you and the rest of the residents and the developer to come up with a plan for how this is going to go this year. Like that's what I can say to you right now. There may be things that are out of the control of this board that I can't help you with. The taxes would be first and foremost of that. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Well, that
Okay.
seems like that's a very significant topic.
I understand. I understand. But like,
Yes, I'm sure you do. What I'm trying to say is, I still feel, maybe my question is not for you, maybe I should go to the selectmen and ask for a list of all the things that's required in order for the roads to be accepted. I just think that's a very fair and reasonable request. I'm not saying, Michael, you have to sanction this or have to approve it, but I just think it's reasonable to ask for the town, whoever that is, and I don't know anybody else, so selectmen's fine. And to your point, maybe it sounds like paying back taxes is actually a requirement. And it seems to me that's been a sticking point for 10 years. We can get the list of 13
So
things.
Kai, let's table that for now, because let's get the final list in 2 weeks. Hopefully Chairman Gore and the rest of them will push through, the DPW and whoever else has to do the work to get the final list. As far as back taxes go, they've already started land court. They're already starting to try to get their money back through land court. We're going to have that argument later. It's not worth us having this here. These guys aren't the ones to talk to about this as far as fighting it. And land court started. They can win it through the legal system. And if they're doing the legal system from the town perspective to recoup their costs or recoup their back taxes, then that shouldn't be a requirement to have to wait for that to be complete for road acceptance, in my opinion. So we'll have that argument later. I don't think this is the forum for that, but it's certainly one of the regular road acceptance items. But I think the way this is going, I think we need to have that discussion further down the road. We're not going to get anywhere with that tonight, I don't think, and I agree with your points, but I don't think that we're going to get anywhere with that discussion.
I agree. It sounds like it's up. I'm only speaking for myself now, just one resident taking up with the selectmen, because it is in the road acceptance criteria. And I just think this back taxes has been the main issue. And also, I think, to be fair, some of these things have been done in years past. And now we have to do some of these things again because too much time has passed and we still have these financial issues that were never resolved. So I just want to avoid going through all these in a very linear process, go through the 13 things, get the DPW, and then we find out, oh, there are all these financial issues that were never going to be resolved. So to the town planner's point, it's possible the roads are never going to be accepted. And I just rather know that now rather than keep going through this process. And I'm sure you guys don't appreciate having a resident being on this call saying these things. You don't want to hear this either. Just perpetuate this and only end up in the same place that we are now. So, but I take your point. I think what I'm hearing is that aspect is beyond the purview of this board. So I'm okay with it. Thank you.
I would say, I don't see why it needs to be sequential either, but like in regards to those items you talked about, you should probably just email Don Lowe, since he's kind of, he's the town administrator and he manages the select board and everything. I mean, you should probably email these complaints directly to him, because and the planning board will do what we can do, and then he's going to deal with the issue on a whole with multiple boards. So I'm definitely, and I'm sure maybe John has probably talked to Don Lowe many times, but I would definitely email him.
I guess my question to that, Eric, would be, I haven't pressed him or the select board about the two items, affordable housing and back taxes, because without the planning board's, I guess, their recommendation to accept the road, is it worth having that argument yet? I thought I was told not to do that until we got to a point where Andy took care of all the other pieces. So I've had discussions with Don and even reached out to the selectmen with very little response, but I haven't pushed much or had many discussions because I was waiting till we got through a real checklist, which I hope we'll get next meeting, and then we can drive through that. So if it's worth doing beforehand, I'm open to having 95 residents email Don Lowe tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, do that. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. I mean, my only point is, I don't see why it needs to be totally sequential. I mean, And if you have questions about the back taxes, which we can do nothing about, talk
Yeah.
to Don. Talk to Don.
I mean,
you know.
it's a hypothetical question to them, but you're right. It's in land court now, right? The town is gonna probably recover some money. So, but I don't understand any of that. It's not, I get no information about that. This board gets no information about that. So that's why discussions like that in these meetings are not particularly helpful. As I said, we're trying to work through the issues that, that we cover. Right, so we have the starting list, we'll hopefully have another list at the next meeting. And then we'll have, what work is required, right? So with that, I think we can move on.
Sorry, Michael, I'm sorry. One more, and I'll stay on
Very
top.
brief, very brief. please.
Yeah, so with respect to this list, I think the item with respect to the pond cleanup, maybe Andy, you can weigh in. I don't think I think what I heard the town say is that it needs to be done. And I think, Andy, what I heard you say is that, well, I've already done it. So I'm not sure but I don't think the town is okay with that. So are you agreeing to you'll do it again?
I'm gonna take a look at them.
Okay, that's not the same thing as doing it again. They didn't say take a look at it.
So
Well,
this, again,
You didn't let me
not a
in?
discussion for here. Right, the board has its position that things that our contract engineer has pointed out need to be done. Okay.
And how will you certify that it's been done?
I think there is some method when they clean it out, you get receipts from Todd, maybe I think you get receipts or something.
Okay,
like
so
that.
you need some proof that it's been done again.
We'll need proof, and
Okay.
again, DPW will be part of this process. So,
To the chair, if I may.
yes,
We will have correspondence from the DPW confirming that the work has been done. Much like you can tell if you vacuum your house, you can tell if the catch basins have been cleaned out and the debris has been removed. That's pretty bog standard to do.
excellent.
Well, if I may answer the question. It could be like Niche Engineering puts that on as a standard item. I'm not sure they, went out and looked at the ponds. I mean, the question is whether they're clean. Not, you don't, if you just vacuumed, you don't need to vacuum again.
I agree. It is something, I think that's a boilerplate thing that they say, any,
Right.
before road acceptance,
I
the developer
mean,
one
once
last
I'm
time
gonna-
should clean them out, but again,
Right.
DPW will look at it, so.
No, I mean, we'll look at it too. If they're dirty again, we'll do them again.
Okay, so we're all set with this business and we'll circle back in 2 weeks at our next meeting on that.
Yes, indeed.
With that, we have, Todd, no more agenda items, but I did want to take a little bit of time to talk with Austin, kind of about, what's going on, what sorts of, we discussed a little bit about what sorts of things the planning board kind of covers.
Sure.
Right, so, I think first and foremost, we're responsible for coming up with zoning bylaws and changes to Bolton zoning code. We have not done many zoning bylaws for the past few years, partially because we've been busy with a lot of other things, but also because we're in the middle of what's called a master plan, which maybe Bob can speak a little bit about that, where we hire an outside company to take a comprehensive look at future growth of the town, needs of the town, things like that. I don't know, Bob, you want to speak a little bit about master plan?
Yeah, that's basically it. Basically, we go through where the town is now, what projections there are in terms of demographics and development, look at what the current zoning is and what the implications are with an appropriate perspective on what we're hearing from the town in terms of the residents' vision of what the town ought to be. And that obviously deals with infrastructure, economic development, housing, et cetera, right down the line. And in the recent past, the issue of climate change and the implications of that have become front and center in a lot of respects. But basically, that gets put together and is soon to come out in sections in draft form for public review. I expect that we will have at least one more forum, and we're currently in the process of a second survey. I know everybody hates surveys. I do too. But a lot has happened since the last survey. It's called COVID, and it's changed a number of things, not the least of which is certainly housing, certainly infrastructure
Economic
that we need to
development.
look at. And so out of that will come certain recommendations, which are couched in an implementation plan, which was also done in the 2006 master plan. And incidentally, many of them were accomplished. But we have a ways to go on some of the ones that were recommended and have yet to be completed. And there are new ones that are coming up and changing in terms of priority. Case in point, issues, longstanding issues with transportation and 117, the intersection 495, public water supply, public sewage, not the least of which is, and Todd will certainly agree with this, where we stand with respect to the staff, the town staff and their accommodations or lack thereof, as well as issues with what used to be referred to as the senior center, which frankly doesn't exist. It's one small room that's rented out every now and then to the seniors, and a community center. But you know, with the school going on, with changing demographics, with very, very tight accommodations for the town staff, and also looking at a more community approach to meeting rooms and activities outside of what traditionally in Bolton has been a few nonprofit community organizations, sports and churches. And that's, you know, that's not atypical of a New England town. But we're, I think, looking to the west, north, south, up along 495, and also looking at what has happened and how we need to take into consideration what the growth process has been in other towns that were where we are, and looking at where they have gone, what we can do either about accommodating that or making changes to reflect the vision of the town. So that's where we are in pretty big picture. Oh,
And oh, sorry, Bob, but Austin, just to be clear, so right, that is the master plan steering committee. Of
Right.
that, they'll have recommendations, and the planning board will, you know, deliberate on those recommendations where it's, you know, like changing zoning regulations or, you know, bylaws or things like that. So that's what the planning board will get out of their hard work, basically.
One quick question, if I may. So the master plan spans more than just the planning board in terms of their recommendations.
Exactly. It's
yeah,
comprehensive across the whole town.
it's the whole world.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how often is that master plan revisited? Is there a set cadence to it, or is it sort of best effort every so often?
To the chair, if I may.
Yes.
Master plans, Austin, master plans do have a lifespan. They have a working lifespan. Realistically, it should be around every 8 years or so. Realistically, it tends to be a decade, sometimes 12 years. Ours is well past the best by date, as it turns out. I would encourage you, because you're a very smart guy, take a look at the previous master plan. Then you'll get a feel and a jive for how these documents are assembled and the way that they're angled and targeted. Effectively, the way it works is the master plan constructs the vision, the overall kind of the overall landscape and the compass of what direction to go. The planning board does all the minutia. They do the finer scalpel level work, the ones that act with the more precision and guiding the overall development goals to be in line with the master plan's priorities. That's how it ought to work. And that's why it's my belief that's why the planning board hasn't really constructed any master plan, any bylaw revisions, because we've been really holding our breath for the master plan to finally be assembled. Then we can start marching in line with what the master plan guides us towards, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Austin,
And
in answering, if I can, your question about how often is it revisited, out of the master plan comes the implementation matrix. And specific recommendations are made, and they vary in level of detail. Some of them are very specific. The last one recommended the library and the change in public safety building and that sort of thing, and that was very specific. But ultimately, in most cases, an implementation committee is put together to make sure that everybody is taking into consideration the roadmap, as it were, the master plan, when they develop their programs. And certainly the planning board is critically important in terms of taking what is understood about where the town is and the roadmap to where it's going and turning that into bylaws and regulations and
Exactly.
where
And so that's, you know, Austin, that's kind of all big picture stuff. Like, so, you know, meeting to meeting, a lot of what we spend our time on are special permits, of which there were 2 tonight, what are called public hearings that we continued and didn't really discuss. There are things called ANRs, approval not required, which is where we approve housing lots. So basically, if people want to split up a parcel of land into lots, they, by state law, they have a process called approval not required, where if they meet the Bolton zoning codes, they're able to carve off a lot and build a house on it.
Exactly. To the chair for me.
Yes.
That process it's a standard subdivision. Think of a loaf of bread. You have a very large parcel of land and you can take off slices, each one of which can be used towards a different end, a different piece of toast, or maybe a sandwich, whichever. Additionally, there are items that, as you mentioned before, there are special permits. The big thing to keep in mind with those, that there are, of course, regs to go with them. I have plenty of information. If you drop by my office, I would be more than happy to give you a crash course and just throw you off the boat. But I would love to talk with you. I love talking planning. Ask anyone on this board. If you get me talking, I likely don't shut up. You may regret coming by, but it will be education, I promise. But with that, I've got plenty of guidance for you. I can connect you with a bunch of different resources from what's called CPTC, which is Citizen Planner Training Collaborative. They've got a lot of really good educational material for folks that are brand new to land use regulatory boards, whether they're joining a planning board like this or a zoning board of appeals. They even touch on Concom, even though that's not strictly their lane. But there's plenty of resources out there, and I don't want you to feel that you're overwhelmed. I don't want you to feel like you're, kind of lost in this. Don't worry. If you just pay attention to some folks that have been here for a good while, you'll be in great shape. And if you have any specific questions, that's why you've got strange people like planners that are here to help you. Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you so
and
much.
What I will say is kind of the last thing that occupies more of our time than I'd like is kind of subdivision babysitting. And so you saw some of that tonight. So anytime there's kind of an active subdivision in town, they go through an entire, approvals process with us, and then we, are checking in periodically with them. And for time immemorial, most of those subdivisions went very smoothly. The past few years, we've had 2 that have been pretty troublesome. So Century Mills Estates is one, and Moderator Way, which is off of 85, is the second one. So just some background on those. So for CME, who we talked about tonight, that developer kind of I think ran into financial problems midway through his process, and it's just been kind of a long slog. The residents are currently trying to get their roads accepted. Right now, their roads are private roads, which means they don't get any town services on those roads. So we're working with them to get roads approved, which is another thing that the planning board does is road approval.
Well, we make recommendations for
Recommendations, and it goes everything we do is a recommendation that goes before town meeting in the spring.
Got it.
The other,
Does that get voted on when it goes to town meeting? It gets voted on by the selectmen.
it gets voted on by the residents.
by the
voters.
voters.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah, so we
it's a
make
very
recommendations, and this is town government, right? This is Massachusetts.
direct
weirdness,
democracy right
if you
there.
haven't lived here before. The other area, Moderator Way, we are currently in the middle of a lawsuit with that developer. about unfinished work that they haven't done on that in that subdivision. So we're trying to claw back money from them in order to complete that work. We generally, because that's in a lawsuit, we generally don't talk too much about that one during meetings unless there's something to bring up.
Yes.
Other active subdivisions. So Todd, there is Tadmore that I mentioned, which is Goose Pond Path off of 117. Do we have any other ones at the moment?
None that immediately jumped to mind that have had movement on them lately.
Did we accept the road on the one off of Sugar Road by Golden Run?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so yet, sir.
No, okay. So anyway, I think yeah. So that's it for subdivisions. We're currently this one on South Bolton Road. So we're in the process of doing the special permit for that. Once that's approved, they'll start work, and then we'll have this periodic management check in with them.
Yeah,
Well, for the most part, it's usually, it goes quiet. Like this one is a 6 lot division. I mean, CME was originally supposed to be 100 and something lot division. So
yeah, and this one here that he just described, that's only a 6. It's only proposed as a 6 lot subdivision, so it's not a mammoth level development like some that was proposed earlier. But of course, if anyone has if you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to give me a ring. If you like, you can drop on my office. My door is always open. And I don't just say that to say that, I mean that. So just feel free to drop by whenever you need, and I'll help you out with anything that I can. Okay.
Sounds good. That's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Great.
Anything else that anyone wants to discuss?
Oh, you go first, Bob.
Okay, one of the things that Todd sent out was the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs is putting out a fiscal 23 planning assistant grant solicitation. And it's basically to support planning or look at things that would affect planning, background, etc. It's a 75-25 cost sharing grant, which is not atypical of EEOC. And it goes up to $50K for an individual grant. One of the things that I've been pushing, and I believe I distributed it some time ago, is looking into what Harvard Mass has been doing in terms of open space and residential development, basically under the guidance of a very, very well-known national, if not international, planner, Mr. Arendt. And he has offered to take a look at Bolton bylaws and regulations, and also did, as what he did in Harvard, have at least a 1 day, if not a 2 day seminar for all interested people, including obviously planning board, selectmen, conservation commission, what have you, to go over that. And as part of it, do a charrette on the approach that is taken to implementing such an approach, which is basically a philosophical approach that says, let's try to do things to maximize available residences, but maintain the character of the town. And by the way, allow different types of housing, not just single family residence, 1.5 acres, 4.5 acres, but start looking at more compact approach, sort of an extension of our Gosford program. So I personally think that we should apply for this. I'm not sure at this point for his particular piece of it where the other 25% would come from. If it's on the order of what he has proposed for a fee, I will personally pick up that 25%.
To the chair, if I may.
Yes.
On top of what Mr. Romer said, this individual is also, he is internationally known. I did see references from some of my colleagues over at ISOCARP, which is the International Society of City and Regional Planners. I have a couple of friends over in Belgium, and they've heard of this gentleman. So he's not without renown in that discipline.
So this is a matter of Todd or somebody needs to apply for this grant. Is that the case,
Yeah,
Bob?
yes, it has to go through the town.
Yes,
Is it
that-
is it a comprehensive like thing that's going to take hours and hours and hours to apply for, or is it like a something?
EEOCs, they tend to be either drought or flood. They either tend to be very easy, or they can be extremely onerous to manage. I'll take a look at, yeah, I'll take a look a bit once I'll begin the process and see exactly what we're in for. And then once I get a feel for exactly how much time this will take that I can allocate towards it, I'd be happy to do that. This is a very worthwhile effort to get into, for sure.
Yeah, and there's
Todd, were
pretty
you-
good guidance on the advertisement from the state.
Yes.
Todd, were you getting an assistant planner?
I
Senior
wish,
planner?
my good sir, I wish.
No, there was
no,
discussion
I'm-
of that, right? No, that didn't.
Not an assistant planner. This would be someone to assist with the administrative aspects of the job.
Yeah.
Something like working
Cool.
with mailings, notifications, doing
you
a
don't-
lot of that.
Like
aspect.
grant work wouldn't fall under that.
No, that'd be a little bit
Okay.
too targeted, unless it depends on the candidate that we receive. If we
Okay.
have a candidate come before here that's interested in this sort of career, you could be gosh darn sure that I'd love to just kind of see what they're made of in terms of writing, and then
Yeah.
and kind of toss them some work there for sure.
Okay, so it sounds like Todd, you'll take a look at the application and see if it's
Oh, yeah.
something that, because so I'm looking at your emails, it's a May 26th
Yeah.
due date.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real close.
Yeah,
It is close, yeah.
it's by the skin of our teeth, I think. But
Okay.
I'll take a look at it, and if it turns out to be too onerous, then it might not fit. But if it happens to be something I've got room in my schedule for, I'll be applying for.
Okay,
And there is a lot of information out there that we can use in order to put this together.
Eric, you wanted to say something as well?
Yeah, I was just gonna request from Todd that you could package up like the documents and stuff for each meeting. Like, I don't know that maybe you sent out that the response from Niche, but I might have just missed it. I don't know.
I did, I
Um,
promise.
Yeah,
I
no,
just saw the message.
I probably just missed it, but I get a
It-
ton of emails. So if I know past planners, like either zip everything up, or if you could just send us an email with like links, so it's all in
Yeah.
one location.
Yeah, all the
Because-
items that we discussed, they are on the current projects tab.
Yeah, I know they're on the, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
just
I-
like documents that we're discussing
Yeah.
in a given meeting would be.
Sure,
Yeah.
I can do that.
If it's all in one location, that would be good. And I didn't see that response from Nick on the current
No,
projects.
I'm looking at that now, and it looks like that was sent to me and Pete.
Oh, okay.
So the
Yeah,
rest of
I
the
can
board may not
Just
have
make,
that.
if I send those items out to the board at large, due to open meeting law, you'll find this out soon, Mr. Gunner, that we can't deliberate on items
No,
outside of
understood.
meetings. So as long as I send those out and I do address it to the entirety of the board, just make sure that if you're going to be communicating with other members of the board, it has to be on an individual by individual basis. You can't talk to yourself and a couple of your board members at the same time, because that would be, can't do that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally understand that, but just, I would like to review documents beforehand if possible. And,
Yeah.
like I said, sometimes it's hard to like search. I just have so many emails. If you send things piecemeal, it's tough to find. So
Sure, yeah, I can do that, no problem.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a huge favor. I mean, Eric, come on. What do you mean?
And there are a few that are very last minute.
Yeah,
I'll vote positive for the budget next year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
any other discussion for the board? I see Mr. Matha joined us. So we have continued your hearing until our next meeting on May 24th. But other than that, I think we are finished, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, Michael, did I just miss mine is pushed?
Yeah, so to May 24th. So I think we received your surety letter, and the lawyer was reviewing it, and that should be all set pretty soon.
Got it.
Assuming he has no issues with it. And then hopefully we can kind of discuss everything at the next meeting.
Got it. Understood.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good night, sir.
So again, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Very good. I'll begin I'll entertain a roll call vote to adjourn. I'll begin with Chairman Gore.
Aye.
Mr. Romer,
Aye.
Mr. Grenner,
Aye.
Mr. Nayland,
All right.
Mr. Barr.
All right.
I was like, don't leave me hanging. Okay, with that,
Oh, and-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Pete, thank you for
Yeah.
everything, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, that cannot be
You hung
allowed.
on
Can't let,
until the end here. I can't believe it.
I'm not accepting this motion as complete yet until we haze him on the way out. That just needs to be done. No,
No,
it's-
Pete, yeah, great. Good luck with everything. Thank you for all your service to the board. I know this wasn't the most fun year to be chair.
Oh, it's, you know, I appreciate, it's been great working with everyone. I enjoyed actually being chair a lot more than I thought I would, even despite some of the things we went through. And, you know, I wish you all the best. I'll still be in town for a while, so I might, you know, join a future meeting as a resident to listen in if there's something of interest. But wish everybody the best. And Bolton's a great town. You know, I don't want to leave, but you know, sometimes personal things.
Yeah.
So
Life
good luck.
happens.
Dan.
I've been on the board for like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years. I'm not even sure. And I think your meeting, you know, a few months back that you were the chair of was the most uncomfortable meeting for a chair I've ever seen. So you deserve to retire.
You endured that excoriation with grace, I'll say.
Yeah.
It was very, very Oliver North like. Yeah, it was,
It's been really great working with you, Pete. Now you're just a normal resident, so I don't have to treat you special. Life's
That's
good.
absolutely right. Well, cheers, everyone.
Pete.
All right. Good
Thank
luck,
you
Pete.
so much.
Thank
man.
you.
All right, so I
Take
think
care,
we're all
buddy.
set then. So good night, everyone. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Motion carries. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.